That's an excellent and comprehensive excerpt, Cameron. It covers the history and concepts of management, especially focusing on how management evolved from practice to theory. Here's an easy summary with key points and explanations to help you prepare for class or Viva. Management, history, and concepts. Summary in simple words. 1. Meaning of management. Management means planning, organizing, leading, and controlling people and resources to achieve goals effectively and efficiently. 2. Early management practice. Management has existed since ancient times, the Great Wall of China, advice of Jethro to Moses in Exodus 18:14-27. But it became a scientific study only during and after the Industrial Revolution, 18th to 19th century. Industrial Revolution and need for management theory. During the Industrial Revolution, started in England 18th century, industries grew rapidly. New machines and factories required better coordination of workers. This created a need for trained managers and systematic management theories. Henner 4. Early thinkers. Charles Babbage, 1792 to 1871, suggested jobs should be divided into smaller parts for efficiency. The idea behind the assembly line. His ideas were ignored until Frederick Winslow Taylor developed them further. 5. Scientific management. Frederick W. Taylor, 1856 to 1915, known as the father of scientific management. Main ideas. Use science, not guesswork, to plan work. Every task has one right way to do it efficiently. Use time and motion studies to find that right way. Pay workers based on performance, piece rate system. Cooperation between management and workers improves productivity. Key terms: job fractionation, breaking a job into smaller tasks. Time and motion studies, observing and timing each task to find the most efficient method. Taylorization, applying Taylor's principles to make work more efficient. Soldiering, workers' tendency to slow down work when unsupervised. Results: increased worker productivity and wages, but unions resisted because they feared layoffs from faster work. F6. Evolution of management thought, approach, main idea, classical approach, focuses on scientific methods for efficiency, one right way. Behavioral approach, focuses on human relations and understanding workers' needs and motivations. Management science operations research, uses mathematics and scientific methods to improve decision-making. Contingency approach says there is no single best way to manage, it depends on the situation. Theory X and Theory Y, Douglas McGregor. X equals workers are lazy and need control. Y equals workers are motivated and responsible. Theory Z, Japanese management, emphasizes teamwork, group decision-making, and loyalty. Efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity. Effectiveness, doing the right things, Peter Drucker's idea. Efficiency, doing things with minimum effort or cost. Productivity, ratio of output to input. Higher output with the same input means higher productivity. Neff 8. Key people and dates. Thinker, contribution. Henry R. Town, 1886, called for scientific study of management by engineers. Frederick W. Taylor developed scientific management. Douglas McGregor introduced Theory X and Theory Y. William Ochi developed Theory Z, Japanese management. Peter Drucker defined effectiveness and efficiency. 9. Important to remember. Before the 20th century, people practiced management but didn't study it scientifically. Industrial growth created a need for formal management education. Taylor's scientific management laid the foundation for modern management theory. Management has now evolved into a global, multidisciplinary field using psychology, economics, sociology, and mathematics. Would you like me to make this into a PowerPoint, 10 to 12 slides with visuals and key points? For excellent continuation, Cameron, you've now reached the next part of scientific management theory, focusing on its key contributors after Frederick W. Taylor. Let's make this section easy to understand and remember. Here's a clear and summarized explanation for your notes or presentation. Key contributors to scientific management. 1. Frank and Lillian M. Gilbreth, 1868 to 1924 and 1878 to 1972. Innovators of motion studies. Main ideas. The Gilbreths worked alongside and sometimes competed with Frederick Taylor. They believed in the one right way to perform a job efficiently, but focused more on motions than time. Major contributions. Motion studies. They analyzed how workers moved while performing tasks to find unnecessary or wasted movements. Thurbligs. Frank Gilbreth identified 17 basic motions, like reach, grasp, move, inspect, etc., that make up every job. Thurbligs is Gilbreth, spelled almost backward, a clever name for these motion units. Job simplification. They reduced unnecessary motions to make work faster, easier, and less tiring. Use of film. Frank Gilbreth filmed workers to study and improve movements, an early version of today's industrial engineering techniques. Lillian Gilbreth's role. First female psychologist in management, wrote The Psychology of Management, connecting scientific management with human psychology, applied management methods to household work, organizing chores efficiently, famous through the books Cheaper by the Dozen and Bells on Their Toes, based on their real-life family of 12 children. Key point, open quote, Gilbreth's equals motion efficiency plus human consideration, close quote. 2. Henry L. Gantt, 1861 to 1919, innovator in scheduling and rewarding employees. Main ideas. Worked with Frederick Taylor at Midvale Steel and Bethlehem Steel. Believed inefficiency came from poor planning and unrealistic work standards. Major contributions. 1. Gantt chart, a visual scheduling tool showing when each task starts, its duration, and progress. Still used today in industries and project management software, like MS Project or Excel. Helps managers plan, coordinate, and track tasks efficiently. Example, task, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, a design. B, assembly. C, testing. 2, incentive system. Introduced bonus pay for workers who exceed daily targets. Different from Taylor's fixed piece rate system, Gantt added extra motivation beyond basic pay, helped link worker motivation with productivity. 3. Scientific standards. Emphasize the need for scientifically determined performance standards, not guesses. Believed fair rewards come only when goals are based on accurate measurement. Key point, open quote, Gantt equals scheduling plus motivation, fair standards, close quote. Comparison summary, thinker, focus, key contribution, legacy, Taylor, time and efficiency. One Right Way, Time and Motion Studies, father of scientific management, Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. Motion efficiency, 17 Thurbligs. Job simplification, humanized motion study, Henry L. Gantt. Scheduling and motivation, Gantt chart, bonus system, basis of modern project management. Remember, all three, Taylor, Gilbreths, and Gantt, were part of the classical scientific management school. Their combined work laid the foundation for industrial engineering, job design, and modern management techniques. Would you like me to make a 3-slide PowerPoint version, 1 slide each for Taylor, Gilbreths, and Gantt, with pictures and bullet? Excellent addition again, Cameron. You've now reached the second half of the classical management theory, which shifts from the management of work, Taylor, Gilbreths, Gantt, to the management of organizations, Mary Parker Follett and Henry Fayol. Let's break this down into simple exam-ready notes with clear explanations and comparison. Mary Parker Follett, 1868 to 1933, pioneer in conflict resolution and human relations in management. Main focus, how managers handle conflict and interact with workers. Key ideas. Conflict is natural and should be resolved collaboratively, not through domination or suppression. She opposed bossism, what we now call micromanagement. Open quote, her advice, don't overmanage employees. Close quote. Believed in the law of the situation. Workers will follow management's decisions if they are logical and fair, not forced. Encouraged group decision-making and mutual respect between managers and workers. Promoted democratic leadership. Employees should have a voice in decisions. Her legacy. Considered the mother of modern management. Laid the groundwork for modern organizational behavior and human relations theory. Inspired future ideas of participative management and teamwork. Key point, open quote, Follett emphasized cooperation over control and people over power, close quote. Henry Fayol, 1841 to 1925, developer of administrative classical management theory. Focus, while Taylor focused on individual workers, Fayol focused on the organization as a whole. Background, French engineer and managing director of a large mining company. developed one of the first complete theories of management. His famous book, Administration Industrielle et Générale, 1916, later translated as General and Industrial Management. Fayol's major contributions. 1. Differentiation between supervisors and managers. Gave higher status to managers than to supervisors. Established the concept of hierarchy in modern organizations. 2. Defined management as a set of functions. He was the first to identify what managers actually do. These became known as the 5 functions of management. Function, explanation, planning, predicting future trends and deciding actions to achieve goals. Organizing, setting up the structure, assigning roles, and delegating authority. Commanding, directing and motivating employees to perform tasks. Coordinating, ensuring all departments and employees work together towards goals. Controlling, monitoring performance and comparing results with plans, correcting deviations. Open quote, these 5 functions form the core of modern management theory. Close quote. 3. 14 Principles of Management. Brief mention. Although not all are listed in your text, Fayol's famous principles include division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, centralization and decentralization, equity, order, and esprit de corps, team spirit. 4. Flexibility and principles. Fayol stressed that principles should be applied with flexibility, not rigidly, believed that managers can be trained, they are made, not born. Key point, open quote, Fayol equals management as a universal process. His theory forms the basis of today's planning, organizing, leading, and controlling POLC framework. Comparison summary, thinker focus area, main contribution, legacy, promoted co-author teamwork and participator follett, conflict resolution and human relations, promoted cooperation, law of the situation, and anti-bossism. Foundation for Modern Teamwork and Participative Management. Henry Fayol, Organizational Management, defined 5 management functions and 14 principles. Foundation of Administrative and Classical Management Theory. Remember, open quote, Taylor Gilbreth's Gantt, Management of Work, Scientific Management. Follett, Fayol, Management of Organization, Administrative Management, close quote. Together, they form the classical approach to management, focused on improving efficiency, structure, and organizational performance. Would you like me to prepare a 4-slide PowerPoint summary of Taylor? Here's an easy and clear explanation of Henry Fayol's 14 Principles of Management in simple lines, no table format. 1. Division of labor. Fayol said that work should be divided into smaller tasks and each worker should specialize in one job. This makes work faster and more efficient. 2. Authority. Managers have the right to give orders, but they must also take responsibility for the results. Authority and responsibility must go together. 3. Discipline. Rules must be followed in the organization. If employees disobey, fair punishment should be applied to maintain order. 4. Unity of command. Each worker should get orders from only one manager to avoid confusion and conflict. 5. Unity of direction. All employees should work towards one common goal or objective under one plan. 6. Subordination of individual interest to general interest. The company's goals are more important than personal goals, and everyone should put the organization's interest first. 7. Remuneration. Employees should be paid fairly according to their work, cost of living, and effort. Good pay keeps workers satisfied and motivated. 8. Centralization. Decision-making power should mainly stay with managers, but some authority can be given to lower levels when needed. A balance is important. 9. Scalar chain. There should be a clear chain of command from the top manager to the lowest employee. Information should flow properly through this line. 10. Order. Everything in the organization, people and materials, should be in the right place at the right time for smooth working. 11. Equity. Managers should treat all employees kindly, fairly, and equally to build trust and loyalty. 12. Stability of personnel. Good employees should be kept for a long time. High turnover, frequent employee changes, harms the organization. 13. Initiative. Employees should be encouraged to take new ideas and start things on their own. It helps improve the organization. 14. Esprit de corps, team spirit. Managers should promote teamwork, unity, and good relationships among employees to create a positive and cooperative environment. In short, Henry Fayol believed management can be learned. His 14 principles guide managers to make organizations more organized, disciplined, and effective. Here's a simple and clear explanation of the passage you shared about evaluation of the classical school and the behavioral school, Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne experiments. Yeah. Evaluation of the classical school, summary in easy words. The classical school of management was created to improve industrial work during the early 1900s when industries were growing fast. It focused mainly on how to manage work efficiently by improving job design, using incentives, and managing scientifically. This approach helped companies become more productive and profitable. It also encouraged managers to think about their skills, roles, and training, which was new at that time. However, the classical approach had a weakness. It was too mechanical and impersonal. It treated workers like machines and ignored their feelings and social needs. Because of this, many workers resisted it and were not motivated. Still, the contributions of the classical school, like principles of management, job design, etc., are used even today by successful managers. The behavioral school of management. Easy explanation. The behavioral school came after the classical school and focused on understanding human behavior at work. It said that good management comes not only from planning and control, but also from understanding the workers' needs, feelings, and relationships. Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne experiments, 1927-1932. Elton Mayo, an Australian social scientist, started studying workers' behavior in a Philadelphia textile factory and later at the Hawthorne Works, a factory of the Western Electric Company in Chicago. Earlier, the factory had tried scientific management, Frederick Taylor's method, but it didn't work. Workers were unhappy, tired, and productivity was low. Mayo found that workers were lonely and felt unimportant, so he suggested giving rest breaks and improving working conditions. Productivity went up. He realized the improvement wasn't just because of rest periods. It was because workers felt valued and noticed. Hawthorne experiments at Western Electric Company. The experiments tested how light levels affected productivity. There were two groups, one with constant lighting, control group, and one with changing lighting. Surprisingly, productivity increased in both groups, no matter the light level. Researchers found that workers felt special because they were part of an experiment. The environment was friendly and relaxed. Workers felt a sense of belonging and teamwork. This led to the discovery of the Hawthorne effect. People work better when they know they are being observed or when they feel important. Main findings of Mayo's research. 1. Workers are not just motivated by money or working conditions, but also by social and psychological factors. 2. Good relationships between workers and managers improve performance. 3. Teamwork, recognition, and a sense of belonging increase productivity. 4. Managers should learn human relations skills, how to communicate, motivate, and understand employees' emotions. In short, you should remember, Elton Mayo is called the founder of the human relations movement. The Hawthorne experiments showed that human feelings, attitudes, and social relationships affect productivity. Management success depends not only on technical efficiency, but also on understanding people. Would you like me to make a short comparison between the classical and behavioral schools in 5 to 6 clear lines for your presentation? Here's a simple and clear explanation in easy wording, in lines, not in a table, for all three topics. Chester Barnard's acceptance theory of authority, Douglas McGregor's theory X and theory Y, and the management science approach. Chester Barnard, 1886 to 1961, the acceptance theory of authority. Chester Barnard was a successful business executive and writer. He believed people form organizations to achieve common goals through cooperative effort. In his book, The Functions of the Executive, 1938, he focused on motivation, communication, decision-making, and organizational objectives. His main idea, called the acceptance theory of authority, says that authority depends on the employee's acceptance, not just on the manager's position. This means a manager's order is followed only if workers believe it is fair, logical, and matches their personal goals. If workers do not accept the order, it has no real power. Therefore, real managerial power comes from the trust and acceptance of workers, not from the title of boss. Barnard shifted focus from command-based power to cooperation-based power in management. Douglas McGregor, 1906 to 1964. Theory X and Theory Y. Douglas McGregor studied how managers view their workers and how this affects management style. He compared two opposite views about workers called Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X represents the classical view, pessimistic. People dislike work and try to avoid it. They need to be forced, controlled, or threatened to work. They prefer to be directed and avoid responsibility. They mainly work for money and security. Theory Y represents the human relations view, optimistic. People do not naturally dislike work. They enjoy doing meaningful tasks. They can motivate themselves if given the right environment. They can take responsibility and be creative. Most people have unused potential that can be developed. McGregor said good managers should follow Theory Y, which promotes giving employees more responsibility and freedom, delegating authority to lower levels, making jobs interesting and meaningful, rewarding creativity and commitment, not just attendance, respecting and involving workers in decisions. His ideas encouraged a humanistic and motivational style of management that improved teamwork and productivity. Evaluation of the behavioral approach. The behavioral approach helped managers understand human behavior in the workplace. It focused on motivation, leadership, communication, and group dynamics. It showed that successful management depends on both technical skills and human relations skills. This approach led to modern management training programs that teach how to deal with people effectively. It remains one of the most influential directions in management theory today. Management science approach, also called operations research. This approach began during World War II when scientists were asked to solve complex military and production problems. It used mathematics, statistics, and the scientific method to improve decision-making and operations. The idea was that every organizational problem can be studied scientifically and solved through mathematical models. Steps of the management science method. 1. Observe and identify the problem in the system. 2. Build a mathematical model to show how different parts of the system are connected. 3. Use the model to predict results under certain conditions. 4. Test the model by comparing it with real outcomes. The results helped find the most efficient, optimal ways to use resources and solve problems. After the war, these methods were widely used in factories, businesses, and industries to improve planning, production, and decision-making. This approach is the foundation of modern quantitative management, including tools like linear programming, simulation, and decision analysis. Would you like me to continue with the systems approach and contingency approach next, which come right after management science in most books? Here's a simple and easy explanation in short lines, no table form, for both Herbert Simon's theory and the contingency approach, written in clear language so you can easily remember and explain it in class. Herbert Simon, 1916 to 2001, Information Processing and Executive Decision Making. Herbert Simon was a management scientist and researcher at Carnegie Mellon University. He made major contributions to decision-making and information processing in management. Before Simon, most thinkers believed in the economic man model, that managers always had perfect information and made the best possible decision to maximize results. Simon observed that in reality, managers rarely have perfect information. They make decisions using limited knowledge, limited time, and limited mental capacity. Because of these limits, managers often make decisions that are good enough, not always the absolute best. Simon called this process satisficing, meaning choosing a satisfactory solution instead of the perfect one. He introduced the famous concept of bounded rationality, which means human decision-making is limited, bounded by the information and time available. This idea replaced the unrealistic view of the perfectly rational economic man. Simon's theory focuses on realistic decision-making and how managers actually behave, not how they ideally should behave. For his work on decision-making, he received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1978. Management science approach evaluation, also called operations research, OR, uses mathematical models and the scientific method to improve decisions and productivity. It studies the whole system to find efficient solutions. Example, finding the best production schedule or most cost-effective route for transport. It helps managers make logical and data-based decisions. However, critics say it focuses too much on numbers and machines, and not enough on people, workers' emotions, motivation, etc. Some solutions look perfect on paper but don't work well in real-life situations, like the factory floor. Still, it remains very valuable in production, planning, and operations. The contingency approach. The word contingency means depending on the situation. This approach says there is no single best way to manage an organization. The best approach depends on the specific situation and conditions of the organization. It developed because classical, behavioral, and operations research approaches did not always give correct results in every case. It allows managers to combine techniques from different theories depending on what works best. Step-by-step methodology of the contingency approach. 1. Situational analysis. Study the internal condition, strengths and weaknesses. Study the external environment, opportunities and threats. 2. Define the problem. Clearly identify what the real problem is. 3. Set performance standards. Decide how you'll know when the problem is solved, measurable results. 4. Generate alternative solutions. Think of several possible solutions. 5. Evaluate solutions. Check how each solution affects all people and departments, stakeholders. 6. Select the best solution. Choose the one that solves the problem with the least negative side effects. 7. Test the solution. Try it on a small scale first, pilot test. 8. Implement the solution. Apply it fully in the organization. 9. Evaluate the results. See if it worked as expected. 10. Revise and start again if needed. Important points to remember. The contingency approach considers all factors: environment, people, resources, and technology. It accepts that organizations face limits such as budget, technology, or staff skills. The human resources audit, checking workers' competence and skills, is also important. The approach helps managers adapt to changes instead of blindly following one fixed theory. Example, McDonald's case explaining the concept. Problem: 1. More people are eating at fast food places. Good opportunity. 2. Fewer teenagers are available to work. Labor shortage. Possible solutions: ignore the growth opportunity. Buy efficient machines to reduce need for workers. Offer higher wages to attract teens. Hire other groups, retirees, housewives, etc. Contingency thinking. Each solution must be tested for its total effect on the business. The best option depends on current conditions, not past habits. The goal is to solve the main problem while creating the fewest new problems. You should remember, there is no universal rule in management. The best solution depends on the situation. The contingency approach is flexible, practical, and problem-solving oriented. It combines ideas from different management theories to achieve the most effective result. Would you like me to write the systems approach next? It comes between management science and contingency in sequence. Here's a clear and easy explanation in simple lines, no table form, for both. Evaluation of the contingency approach and theory Z, Japanese management, plus evaluation. Evaluation of the contingency approach, easy explanation. The contingency approach says there is no single correct way to manage every organization. It depends on the situation. Different problems need different solutions. This approach is flexible. It lets managers choose from many management techniques depending on what fits best. It combines the human side of management with scientific and technical methods like operations research. It gives a realistic picture of how complex modern organizations really are. Managers must be open-minded, adaptable, and creative to apply this approach successfully. It allows managers to consider technology, people, and the environment before making decisions. The approach is practical, not rigid or rule-based. It fits well with today's fast-changing business world. Criticisms. Some people say it is too complex for an ordinary manager to apply. It demands a highly skilled and confident manager with strong analytical ability. There is no fixed rulebook or single theory, which may make some managers feel insecure. Critics argue it is not a theory, only a method that borrows from other theories. Conclusion: even though it has weaknesses, in the hands of a competent manager, the contingency approach becomes a powerful and flexible tool for solving real organizational problems. Theory Z: Techniques of Japanese Management, Easy Explanation. Theory Z was developed by William G. Uchi, inspired by Japanese management practices after World War II. It extends McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y ideas. It is practical, based on real techniques, not just theory. Its main focus is the work group rather than the individual. It emphasizes teamwork, trust, and group decision-making, consensual decision-making. Main ideas of theory. Z. Group decision-making. Important decisions are made by the group, not one boss. Groups have more ideas, experience, and information. Workers are more likely to support decisions they helped make. Group discussion helps avoid extreme or poor decisions. Lifetime employment. Employees are given job security to increase loyalty and long-term commitment. It helps create a stable and dedicated workforce. However, some Japanese companies have reduced this practice due to economic pressures. Long-term performance. Employee evaluation is based on long-term achievements, not short-term results. Focuses on steady improvement rather than quick success. Quality circles QC and quality of work life QWL. Quality circles QC. Small groups of employees and managers meet regularly to discuss and solve work problems. They suggest ways to improve quality and reduce costs. Their ideas are sent to higher management for approval and action. Helps build team spirit and worker involvement. Quality of work life QWL. Focuses on making the workplace better, more cooperative, and satisfying. Workers are given more control and a voice in decisions. Improves communication and trust between workers and management. Seen as a form of participative management. Example: U.S. Navy and Total Quality Management, TQM, TQL. The U.S. Navy adopted these ideas in a program called Total Quality Management, Total Quality Leadership. Every level of staff is involved in decision-making and problem-solving. Problems are handled at the lowest possible level for quick and efficient action. The Navy's goal is to improve performance while keeping focus on people, not just technology. Session remember. Theory Z focuses on group consensus, teamwork, and long-term commitment. It values worker participation and mutual trust. Quality circles and QWL are key features of this approach. It aims to balance efficiency with employee satisfaction. Evaluation of Theory Z QWL approach. It is practical, not purely theoretical, based on Japanese culture and real-world results. It brought a new human-centered dimension to management in America. Short-term improvements in productivity have been observed in many cases. However, long-term success has not been fully proven. It can be expensive and time-consuming since workers meet often during work hours. It requires employees with good communication and teamwork skills. If top management does not genuinely support it, workers may lose trust and see it as a fake effort. When properly supported, Theory Z creates strong teamwork, better morale, and higher quality output. Would you like me to next explain the modern management approaches like systems approach and total quality management in the same simple? Excellent. This list is from a Management Fundamentals Review section. Let's break it down clearly and simply so you can understand and memorize the key concepts and answers. Do you know the basics? Short, easy answers. Why did a formal theory of management not emerge before the end of the 19th century? Why then? Before the 19th century, most organizations were small, family-based, and didn't need formal management systems. Industrial Revolution, late 1800s, created large factories and complex organizations, which needed systematic management, so management theory developed. What was Frederick W. Taylor's contribution to management theory? He introduced scientific management, 1911, emphasized time study, standardization of work, and one best way to do a job, aimed to improve efficiency and productivity through scientific methods. How did Frank and Lillian Gilbreth contribute? What was Therblig? They focused on motion study, analyzing body movements to reduce wasted effort. Therblig, Gilbreth spelled backward, means a basic motion used in performing a task like reaching, grasping, or positioning. Their work improved efficiency and ergonomics. How is a Gantt chart used? How did Henry L. Gantt differ from Taylor in incentives? Gantt chart, a visual schedule showing tasks versus time used in project management. Gantt emphasized bonuses for supervisors and workers based on performance, more human-oriented than Taylor's strict task pay. What theory was created by Henry Fayol, and how did he define management? He developed administrative theory, also called classical management theory, defined 5 functions of management. 1. Planning. 2. Organizing. 3. Commanding. 4. Coordinating. 5. Controlling. Introduced 14 principles of management, like unity of command, division of work. Explain the significance of the Hawthorne studies. Conducted at Western Electric's Hawthorne plant, 1920s to 30s by Elton Mayo, found that workers' productivity increased when they felt valued and observed, the Hawthorne effect. Birth of the human relations movement. How does McGregor's theory Y view differ from Taylor's? Taylor, scientific management. Workers are lazy, need control, and work for money, similar to theory X. McGregor's theory Y. Workers are creative, responsible, and motivated by recognition and self-fulfillment. What are the main assumptions of management scientists? Management can be analyzed and improved using mathematical models and quantitative techniques. Problems have logical, database solutions, e.g., decision theory, operations research. Which management technique is always advocated by a contingency approach? It depends approach. There is no one best way to manage. The best method depends on the situation, environment, and people involved. What is a quality circle and how does it contribute to management? A small group of employees who meet regularly to discuss and solve workplace problems. Improves quality, communication, teamwork, and employee participation. Names to know with simple clues. Name, contribution, Charles Babbage, applied mathematics to work efficiency, early management thinker. Chester Barnard, introduced acceptance theory of authority and viewed organizations as cooperative systems. Henry Fayol, administrative theory, 14 principles of management. Mary Parker Follett, advocated collaboration and group decision-making, pioneer in conflict resolution. Henry L. Gantt, created Gantt chart, developed humanized incentive plans. Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, motion study, Thurbligs. Elton Mayo, Hawthorne studies, human relations. Douglas McGregor, theory X and theory Y. Herbert Simon, decision-making theory, bounded rationality. Frederick Taylor, scientific management, time and motion study. NatHash terms for study, simple definitions. Term meaning, acceptance theory of authority. Authority exists only if subordinates accept it. Administrative theory, management based on functions and principles, Fayol. Authority, the right to give orders and make decisions. Behavioral approach, focuses on people's needs, motivation, and behavior. Centralization, decision-making power concentrated at top levels. Classical approach, focus on structure, efficiency, and rules. Collaborative approach, solving problems together through cooperation. Commanding, giving directions and orders to employees. Contingency approach, no single best way, management depends on the situation. Controlling, monitoring performance and correcting mistakes. Coordinating, bringing people and activities together smoothly. Delegation, assigning tasks and authority to subordinates. Division of labor, splitting work into specialized tasks. Effectiveness, doing the right things to achieve goals. Efficiency, doing things in the best possible way with minimum waste. Functions of management, planning, organizing, leading, controlling. Gantt chart, timeline for tracking tasks in a project. Hawthorne effect, people change behavior when being observed. Human relations movement, emphasis on worker satisfaction and motivation. Job fractionation, breaking a job into smaller, easier parts. Management of organizations, overseeing people and resources in an organization. Management of work, planning and supervising work processes. Management science, using math and data to solve management problems. Motion study, analyzing movements to improve work efficiency. One right way, Taylor's belief that there's one best method for every task. Operations research, applying math and science to management decisions. Organizing, arranging resources and tasks to achieve goals. Planning, deciding what to do, when, and how. Principles of management, Fayol's rules guiding managerial behavior. Productivity, output per unit of input, efficiency measure. Production bonus, extra pay for producing more. Quality circle, worker group improving processes and quality. QWL, quality of work life, how satisfying and motivating the work environment is. Would you like me to make this into a printable summary chart, PDF, or Word for your class notes? Here's a clear and easy explanation of each of these management terms, written in simple words so you can quickly understand and memorize them for exams or Viva. Key management terms, simple meanings. Responsibility, meaning the duty or obligation to perform a task assigned by a higher authority. In management, every employee is responsible for completing the work given to them. Example, a supervisor is responsible for ensuring workers meet production targets. Scalar chain, meaning the line of authority from top management to the lowest rank, introduced by Henry Fayol, Principle of Management. Purpose, ensures clear communication and reporting. Everyone knows whom to report to. Example, CEO, manager, supervisor, worker. Scientific management, meaning management based on scientific study of work to find the one best way. Founder, Frederick W. Taylor. Main ideas, time and motion studies, proper selection and training, division between planning, manager, and doing, worker, incentives for efficient performance. Scientific method, meaning a systematic and logical process used to solve problems using facts and evidence. Steps, observation, hypothesis, experiment, conclusion. In management, used to test and improve management practices scientifically. Situational analysis, meaning evaluating the current situation before making a decision or plan. Purpose, to choose the best strategy depending on time, place, and people. Example, before launching a new product, a company analyzes market trends and competitors. For soldiering, meaning deliberate slowing down of work by workers. Introduced by Frederick W. Taylor. Types, natural soldiering, working slowly due to natural laziness. Systematic soldiering, working slowly on purpose to avoid higher expectations. Solution, fair wages and scientific management techniques. Theory X, introduced by Douglas McGregor. View of workers, lazy, dislike work, need strict supervision and control, motivated mainly by money. Management style, authoritarian or controlling. Theory Y, also by Douglas McGregor. View of workers, hardworking, creative, and self-motivated. Seek responsibility and achievement. Management style, participative and trust-based. Opposite of Theory X. Theory Z, introduced by William Auchi. Concept, combination of American and Japanese management styles. Key ideas, long-term employment, group decision-making, trust, loyalty, and teamwork. Goal, increase productivity and employee commitment. Thurblig, introduced by Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, meaning a basic motion or action used in doing work. There are 18 Thurbligs like reaching, grasping, holding, positioning, etc. Purpose, to remove unnecessary movements and save time. 1 TQM, TQL, Total Quality Management, TQL, Total Quality Leadership, continuous improvement of quality in all processes, focuses on customer satisfaction and employee involvement. Key idea, do it right the first time. Pioneer, W. Edwards Deming. Tenmarcheter 1, Unity of Command, principle by Henry Fayol, meaning every employee should receive orders from only one boss. Reason, to avoid confusion, conflict, and divided loyalty. 1. Unity of Direction, also by Henry Fayol, meaning all activities with the same objective should have one plan and one leader. Example, the marketing department follows one plan under one manager. 1. Work specialization, meaning dividing work into smaller tasks so each person does a specific job repeatedly, also called division of labor. Benefit, increases efficiency and skill. Drawback, can cause boredom or loss of creativity. Would you like me to make these into a color-coded chart, PDF, or Word for easy memorization and classroom presentation?